December 24th, 1971, 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke boarded Lanza Flight 508 with her mother Maria Koepcke, heading from Lima to Koepcke, Peru. It was supposed to be a routine flight, but fate had other plans. Flight 508 carried 92 passengers and crew, many who were excited to return home to their families for Christmas. But as they flew over the dense Amazon jungle, disaster struck. Lanza, or Líneas Aéreas Nacionales, was a commercial Peruvian airline originally founded in 1963 that provided crucial connections to other regions within Peru. One thing to take away from the airline is that they had a notoriously poor safety record. In 1966, pilot error on Flight 101 from Lima to Cusco caused the plane to crash into a mountainside, killing all 49 passengers on board. 4 years later, Lanza Flight 502 experienced an engine fire and crashed into a valley, killing 99 people on board and an additional 2 others on board, 101 people in total. Pilot error and lack of engine maintenance was the blame for both incidents. Lanza, newly found for their poor aviation standards, had adopted a new public saying: Lanza lands on its belly. A day after Juliane's high school prom, and only a few hours after her high school graduation, Juliane and her mother booked on the Flight 508 from Lima to Iquitos to meet her father to join the celebration. The pair boarded the Lockheed LL-18 at Jorge Chávez International Airport and took off with no worries. Mid-flight, approaching a severe thunderstorm, pilots of Flight 508, in an attempt to save lost time during the busy holiday weekend, chose to fly through the thunderstorm rather than around it. This decision sealed the aircraft's fate. While flying through the storm, the plane was struck by lightning. Juliane described her experience with what happened next. I saw a very bright light on the outer engine on my left. My mother said very calmly, "That is the end. It's all over." Those were the last words I had ever heard from her. The plane jumped down and went to a nosedive. It was pitch black, people were screaming. The loud roaring of the engines filled my head completely. Suddenly, the noise stopped and I was outside the plane. I was in a free fall, strapped to my seat bench and hanging head over heels. The whispering of the wind was the only noise I could hear. I felt completely alone. I could see the canopy of the jungle spinning towards me. Then I lost consciousness and remember nothing of the impact. Later, I had learned that the plane had broken into pieces about 2 miles above the ground. I woke up the next day and looked up into the canopy. The first thought that I had was, I survived an air crash. Juliane fell from the plane 2 miles up in the air and was still strapped into her seat alongside the 2 other seats that made up her row. When ejected from the plane, Juliane went into a tailspin. With Juliane still attached to her seat row, the flat bench-like structure acted as a parachute and slowed her descent to a degree. Think of the little Samaras that fall from trees. Juliane's seat fell in a similar motion to those little helicopters. This saved her life, but unfortunately, she did not make it out unscathed. From the whole ordeal, Juliane suffered a broken collarbone, a ruptured ligament in her knee, and a deep wound on her upper right arm. Incredibly, these were the only wounds sustained from the fall. Juliane's journey was far from over. Now lost in the jungle, Juliane could hear search planes in the distance, but covered by the jungle's immense foliage, a chance of being spotted was little to none. Nevertheless, she powered through and was able to locate a river. Juliane followed the river for 10 days straight, fighting off animals and snakes, and had to resort to drinking river water and sleeping on the river banks. At this point, she did not know the fate of any of the passengers on board the doomed flight, her mother included. Her concern heightened when she encountered 3 human bodies still attached to their seats beside the river, being feasted on by vultures. Seeing this shocking sight, Juliane was starting to feel hopeless. Still stranded in the jungle, she was wondering if she would ever make it out alive. But no matter what, she knew she had to keep moving forward. 2 days later, she discovered a boat mooring on the bank of the river. Next to the boat was a wooden hut. Juliane decided to wait in the hut for the owner to return. In addition to waiting, she treated the wound on her right arm with gasoline she siphoned from the boat's motor. In return, this dried out most of the maggots that infected her deep cut. Juliane remembered her father treating a wound on her family dog in a similar manner years before. Now, after countless days of unrest, Juliane finally took camp at the hut for the night. The next morning, she awoke to the sound of men returning to the hut, which turned out to be a local base for woodcutters. The men were startled, but having recently heard the news of the plane crash, they weren't surprised. When Juliane told them that she was a survivor of the downed Lanza flight, the men gave her food and treated her wounds. The men then proceeded to bring her 7 hours up the river to a local hospital, where she was finally able to be reunited with her father. Sadly, all 6 of the plane's crew and all 71 of the plane's passengers died directly from the plane crash. 15 people survived the disaster, but all but Juliane succumbed to their injuries before being rescued. This includes Juliane's mother. Juliane Koepcke's survival story is truly remarkable, and her life after the crash has been equally inspiring. After her rescue, Juliane went on to recover from her injuries and continued her education. She followed in her parents' footsteps, both of whom were biologists, and she pursued a degree in the same field. Today, Juliane is heavily involved in conservation efforts and is a huge advocate for preserving the biodiversity of the Amazon rainforest. Her life serves as a testament to the human endurance and the power of nature, and she continues to inspire others with her dedication to science and the environment.